What's up, Houston, and welcome to the H-Town Horseshoe. My name is Michelle Duvall, the Mayor's Social Media Manager, and welcome to another episode of the H-Town Horseshoe, brought to you by the Mayor's Office of Communications, where we give you the inside scoop on all city departments and Mayor Turner's initiatives. Now, today, we have a special guest co-host who you might remember from previous episodes, Director of Government Relations, Bill Kelly.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's great to be with you here in the H-Town Horseshoe again. And we're thrilled to be able to talk about our first ever federal update. Now, we've got a couple of great guests, our Deputy Director of Government Relations, Alexa Aragonez, as well as Senior Communication Specialist, Desmond Taylor. Now, these folks have not only created our federal update, but they're actually in charge of overseeing the implementation on a number of aspects. So we're very lucky to be joined. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, guys.
So let's go ahead and get into it. Desmond, this is the first ever federal update. Can you explain to us how the federal government impacts local issues in Houston?
Absolutely. I think one of the most important things that we have to think about and think about how the federal government and the local government work together is collaboration. The Biden-Harris administration has from the beginning made sure that local government is at the forefront of all the issues. We're the ones that are dealing with the residents on a first come, first base service type of approach, right? So dealing with one of the first programs that they launched was the American Rescue Plan Act. So our One Safe Houston program that Mayor Turner initiated February 2nd of 2021. In that program, we're dealing with high crime, right? That wasn't just a Houston issue, that was happening all across the country. So using a holistic approach, dealing with police overtime, some of the more significant programs with the Bissonnet track cleanup that's recently happened in partnership with Councilmember Ed Pollard in District J. Another one was the Investment, Infrastructure, and Jobs Act, the IIJH, for instance. That's dealing with roads and bridges. So in the East End, for instance, we have a really serious issue with railroad crossings. So a couple of months ago, actually, the FRA, which is the Federal Railroad Administrator, came to Houston and gave Houston a $36.9 million grant. And that was the largest in the state of Texas. So shout out to our Houston Public Works friends who really were instrumental in putting that together. So, dealing with issues like railroads, the infrastructure, dealing with crime and safety, those are some of the main ways the federal government, has been very instrumental with the city of Houston.
Now, Alexa, our office works very closely with our congressional delegation. And through earmarks, we've been able to have some of those resources directly given to the city of Houston. Can you talk about some of the tangible benefits that have come with some of those programs?
Of course. So let's zoom out a little bit about what earmarks really are. They came back in for the fiscal year of 2021. This is where congressional members can actually direct spending to their districts back at home, and that is instrumental to make sure, because they, as the Congress people, know what projects would make the biggest impact for their local community. Seeing as we have a long-standing relationship with our Congress members, and thank you and shout out to all of them in our delegation because they are wonderful to work with, we collaborated with them and our departments to find key projects that could make a big positive impact for our community. So two things I want to highlight for sure are the Empowering Solar Jobs earmarked by Congressman Al Green, which provides job trainings for solar jobs for people in the Sunnyside community and the surrounding area, as well as a $2,347 earmarked by Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher that increases our Houston Public Library's digital collections, educational materials to increase digital literacy opportunity for our neighbors.
Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot. So talk to us about ARPA and how it impacts Houston and kind of give us a brief overview of what that is.
Of course, like Desmond mentioned, the American Rescue Plan was enacted back in 2021. And this is instrumental for us responding to and recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. And those two key facets are very important. So an example of responding to the COVID-19 pandemic is we've increased the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. We've added funds to their casework and client referral services. So this is where the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities work with their constituents to find them the services and resources that they need with agency partners or even with items here within the city. A second item that has been key is the One Clean Houston initiative. So that is kind of recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, where during the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw an increase in illegal dumping and other things. People were staying at home more and they needed more resources, more evictions, legal dumping resulted in that. So through the One Clean Houston initiative in partnership with the ARPA funding that we received, we were able to invest funding in the bulk waste and illegal dumping cleanup teams. This has resulted in we reported back June 30th, 2023, we've collected about 40,000 tons of this waste. And that was back in June 30th of this year. I can imagine that we've increased that since.
Yeah.
So I encourage everyone to check out houstontx.gov/ARPA to learn more.
RPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. So Desmond, now you've been involved in planning and organizing a lot of meetings between the mayor and various federal officials. How do you think that those interactions have really helped advance Mayor Turner's priorities and elevated them to our federal friends?
Absolutely. I think of a few opportunities that Mayor Turner has participated in. One that comes to mind is meeting with President Biden and Chief Troy Finner at the White House, talking about One Safe Houston. It was actually working. The investments that we poured into the city, dealing with police overtime, dealing with high crime areas. That was something that the mayor and the police chief were able to go to the White House and share exactly how One Safe Houston has been applicable in the city of Houston. Another opportunity is when, as a lot of people know about the cancer cluster in Kashmere Gardens. So the EPA administrator, Michael Regan, came to Houston and actually sat down with residents in Kashmere Gardens to talk about the issues and just listening to their stories and the long list. I remember going to one of the public sessions and hearing the hundreds and hundreds of names of residents that had passed away with cancer, even young kids, very young, 13, 8 years old. And so just having the EPA administrator not only hear about the issues in Washington, but able to come down to the community here in Houston, hear from the residents and sharing their stories so that we can give them help, give them the aid that they need in order to recover from that situation. But I think also, Bill, that's what's important is Mayor Turner's leadership on national organizations like President of African American Mayors Association or trustee of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Having his leadership in those organizations have put him front and center with secretaries and other agency directors to talk about Houston-specific issues and being able to put our issues right there in front of the table with them.
Question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what I want to know is what makes the competitive grant portion of the infrastructure law so unique to Houston?
That's a really good question. So Veronica Davis and our friends in Public Works are talking about this actually as we're talking about it in front of City Council. Our competitive grant portion, one of the unique things about our federal update is it doesn't just detail the submissions and awards that Houston has had, but it shows other Texas cities. So Desmond mentioned the railroad crossing elimination program, right? $37 million. It's kind of hard to put into context. But when you look at the city of Amarillo, they got $8.5 million. You look at the city of San Antonio, they got close to $5 million. Houston got $37 million. The success is only shown through that context. And that's why it's so important. I want to encourage folks to check out our federal update website to be able to see not only how well Houston is doing, but in comparison to those other Texas cities.
Wow. Okay, 37. Okay.
There you go.
Well, it's about that time. Now, Desmond, you are new to this game, okay? Alexa and Bill been here. This time, Bill, you're going to say all the questions, okay? And Desmond and Alexa are going to answer them. You have 20 seconds to answer all the questions.
I'm stressed every time.
So third time's the charm.
How many questions do we have?
5 questions.
5 questions.
Okay,
20
you
seconds.
guys can tag team.
Okay.
20 seconds for all 5, okay?
So 4 seconds each.
Okay. That's math.
All right, you guys ready?
I'm ready.
All
Let's do
right,
it.
the timer will start after Bill asks the first question.
Where can viewers read more about the information we talked about today?
HoustonTX.gov/federal/update.
Name one standout project that has been benefited from like earmarks.
The mobile stroke ambulance unit.
There you go. Name one primary project in Houston funded by ARPA.
The One Safe Houston initiative.
There you go. Switching to state now. What is
Oh,
But you're still going to answer the questions, but you almost got there.
that's the best we've ever done.
Right? Yeah.
That's the best we've ever done. So switching to the state, House Bill 2127. What is the nickname?
Death Star Bill.
Stop.
The Death Star Bill. And true or false, HB 2127 was ruled unconstitutional on August 30th, 2023.
That is true. But the fight doesn't stop there. There may be more lawsuits and there'll be an appeals process, yada, yada, yada. But it is ruled unconstitutional.
Well, let's talk about that. So, can you explain House Bill 2127 and why it being deemed unconstitutional was really important to Houston?
So from the beginning, the city of Houston believed that House Bill 2127 was a threat to Houston and all other home rule municipalities, home rule authority. And a district court judge in Travis County agreed with us. So while the state has appealed that decision, just to go back, in summary judgment, they ruled that the bill was unconstitutional. So while the state is going to appeal that decision, it was very important for the city to be able to get on the record and have a judicial decision saying, we believe this to be unconstitutional to prevent the harms that would have come to the city, which were lengthy. And I really appreciate our city legal department deserves a huge shout out for their work to be able to defend the city of Houston's rights. You know, we had cities from across Texas. We had San Antonio and El Paso directly intervene, but we had cities, Lubbock, Waco, all across Plano, the political spectrum that said what the legislature tried to do to home rule cities was unconstitutional. And a judge agreed with us on that challenge. So while the final word will come from the Texas Supreme Court, we feel really good about the decision that was from the trial court on August 30th, and that the bill has not gone into effect. So we're going to continue to litigate this out, but you can always count on Mayor Turner and his government relations team being able to fight for our home rule authority in Houston.
And to add to that, Michelle, it is important for cities. We are the closest to the people. We are responding to those unique community needs.
Right.
And that is why it's important to fight HB 2127 and other bills like it that prevent us from doing just that. Our locally elected leaders are elected for a reason because they are the ones you see in the grocery store. They're the ones that you go to church with. They're the ones that you break bread with. And those are the kind of people that understand the issues.
Our city government meets every week. Our legislature meets once every 2 years for
That's right.
140 days. You can come in front of city council on a weekly basis to be able to testify. You don't get that opportunity with the state.
And just to rewind a little bit, for people who don't know what a home rule city is, can you explain that?
Sure. A home rule city is a city that has more than 5,000 residents that has passed a city charter. And the rule about city charters is a city charter allows a home rule city to operate any way that the charter deems legal, as long as it does not conflict with state law. What House Bill 2127 tried to do was to say can only act in ways that the state has enumerated, which is a lot different than saying operate under a charter. So it really constricted that local power to be able to do things like Houston has done. And frankly, like some of the ordinance that we talk about are criminal background checks for tow truck drivers, for different pay or play provisions within our contracting to say you're either going to pay for health insurance for your employees if you're going to do business with the city, or you're going to pay to a fund that works for uncompensated care. Attacking those type of local programs that most people would not only support, but have no, why is the state messing with this at all? It's just, it was very confusing, and I'm really glad the city of Houston was able to lead the state in standing up to this unconstitutional attack on our home rule authority.
So great. Well, thank you guys again for coming back. We got to see you again, okay?
Yes, I'll be back.
We got to get you back on here. Thank you guys for watching. And if you have not already, make sure you subscribe to Mayor Sylvester Turner's YouTube channel to catch any past or future episodes. Also, if you have not already, don't forget to purchase your tickets for Mayor Turner's State of the City address on September 27th. Bill, how about you take us out?
Well, on behalf of the Mayor Turner's government relations team, thank you so much to Michelle for the communications department and the continued excellent work that they do. It's been an honor to work on behalf of the people of the city of Houston and for Mayor Turner. And with that, the city of Houston remains the greatest city in the world, home of the World Series champion, Houston Astros. Thanks so much for having us.
Bye, guys.